In this video, I'm going to be talking about how travel taught me more life lessons than school and college ever did. So my goal for this video is, by the end of it, you're going to be a lot more comfortable with allowing yourself to teach you the lessons that you need to learn to survive in this world, rather than having some sort of program to basically put you on the same track as everyone else in this world. Because I think it just makes you more of a self-sufficient and independent individual when you are traveling the less traveled path that you or your peers would usually go down. So let's get into the topic of the video. So back to what I said in the beginning of the video. What if I told you the best life lessons don't come from reading books and going into classrooms, though it may help? The best life lessons, actually, the real life-changing life lessons that you get, come from packing a bag and going out to travel. But the real life-changing, life-altering lessons come from your backpack and booking that plane ticket or that bus ticket, wherever you're trying to travel to. Now, as a person who loves to encourage travel and also lived that college dorm life experience, I could tell you one effectively changed my life way more than the other as a person. Now, I'll give college this. You do get consumed in work, okay? There are a bunch of hard tasks that they ask for you to do, depending on how far you're going to pursue whatever degree that you're going for. But if I really think about that all now, I only got as far as, the bachelor's degree. And then after that, the pandemic happened. So we were all sort of having to adapt to that situation. But I did face certain hardships, so to speak, when I was pursuing that degree. And I don't remember a lot of what I learned. I don't remember the specific things that I had to do to meet the criteria of actually getting that degree. Now, I do remember everything that I did outside of those classes. I met great people, and I did have certain experiences that, helpful or not, they happened. And I'm not here to say that college isn't an experience, because it is. But whether that experience is helpful for every individual, I would say is debatable. Whereas when you take it to the subject of travel, which I've been doing for the past 2 years, I got way more experience and way more value out of those trips than I believe I ever gotten out of college. When you're talking to real world people you get a lot more variety with the interactions that you have with the real world people, rather than this little camp area that a small group of you with the same basic amount of knowledge and experience in this world. You're sort of just socializing within that kind of in-group. Whereas when you're meeting these variety of people who speak different languages, come from a whole different world from you, have whole different worldviews, and you're basically navigating and adapting to the environments that you're staying at, I feel like I've learned more real world skills through that. And the travel itself, you learning patience of delays from trips, learning patience during travel when your flights are delayed or your travel is delayed, because things aren't always going to go on schedule as you would expect in the real world. And you're understanding the cultural differences and in the area that you're staying at, rather than all the people in one group assimilating to whatever schedule or program that the college has for you. For example, I told you about the trip in previous videos, and possibly I'm going to talk about it in future videos, where I was going from Romania to Moldova to Ukraine. In one instance, in Moldova, I had a bit of time of, the layover time period before my next bus came, so I decided to just peruse through Moldova for a while, just take in the scenery and see what I could see in Chisinau. Was the city's name. I think that's their capital name. But I was taking my time perusing through the city, looking around, and when you're solo traveling, you feel like a real world adventurer, a real world explorer, because, you're on your own, and whatever happens to you, it's all on you. So I knew that with the experience that I had, I was pretty safe. Coming from New York, I knew how to keep myself, prepared for many occasions, many situations to come to me. But unfortunately, you can't prepare for all scenarios. And at the end of my perusing through Moldova, I noticed my phone was about to die, which is, pretty bad when you're solo traveling. Well, they don't have chargers, they have outlets. And I could use my charger for it. But, it was coming close to the time period. But if my phone dies, I'm not gonna know where that bus is. So I had very little time to figure that out. And I didn't pre-plan beforehand and I knew that if my phone died before I actually got to where the bus is that I was meeting it at, something bad could happen. I could more easily get lost in the city or wherever I'm planning to go. So I decided to just turn my phone off, and then I decided to turn my phone off and rely on the people around the city to point me in the direction that I'm going to. Now, believe it or not, many of these countries that you go to will have a lot of English speakers. There will be people that understand you if you only speak English. But I think that day I didn't get so lucky because we're in Moldova, which doesn't get a lot of American travelers or British travelers because they speak English too, and they're closer, so it'd probably be more often you see a British person going through Moldova. But because of the Ukrainian war, there is not a lot of travelers going there because the airplanes aren't working at the airport out of you can't fly airplanes around when a war is happening. So my timing was pretty poor. But I found a way to not make that a huge problem for me. Because I don't know how I really did it, but I found these two girls, because usually younger English. So I was asking around the Moldovans, where I could possibly find a bus. And they didn't understand me. Most of them didn't understand me. They didn't know what a bus was. Well, in English, they don't know what a bus is. And they just basically couldn't understand what I was asking for because they didn't speak English. But I knew from my pre-world experience of traveling that usually younger citizens of a country are more often able to speak English than the older people of that country. So I decided to scout out more college-aged citizens, people that go to college, because it's sort of like mandated that they teach English in those areas and nowadays for foreign schools in foreign countries. So I found these two college-aged girls that they didn't completely know English, but they understood certain words. So when I asked them, bus, where is the bus station? Because there's like one main bus station in Chisinau. They understood and they pointed me in the direction. Well, they didn't know the direction. They still had to look it up on their phone. But I got the assistance that I needed for the occasion. Like I knew how to basically profile the people. I know that sounds crazy, but I guess I profiled them. And I was right to base my ability to seek experience just on the appearance of what I needed for the occasion. And that is something that college will never teach you about. That was a real world skill that I was able to develop on my own from the experiences that I had traveling. I gained a real world skill so I developed this real world skill that formal education will never teach you. I got adaptability from flights being delayed or possibly getting lost in a city. I gained some cultural awareness that like first-hand cultural awareness experiences that you won't get from college. I learned to connect with individuals across language barriers and language language is a big communicator, which I was able to bypass. And real world independence and problem solving, which you never usually get to see how that helps you in the real world, but I was able to use that to my full capability. And this isn't to completely, trash on traditional learning, but I'm just here to say that traditional learning may not be for everyone. It may not be suited for everyone. When you compare the two, you get totally different experiences. Like when you're traveling, you have to learn you're forced to learn how to budget and learn how to handle foreign currencies and talk to foreign individuals, rather than in the classroom. They may give you like a math problem that lets you practice it, but that's just practice. I feel like you don't get the full learning that you need until you're actually forced to apply it, and it'll actually affect you. And it'll actually affect you if you get the answer wrong. And you actually have to deal with that rush of emotions that comes to you when you actually come across those problems. So you get personal growth, and you learn the emotional intelligence that is needed for problems like that. So I would just like to challenge viewers, if you want to leave a comment on an experience outside of the classroom, how you probably had to deal with this. We don't have to leave it in just the subject of travel, but if you did travel, probably that will also be welcomed as well. How did travel teach you some real world problem solving skills? And what you would like to learn outside of the classroom, if you have any opinions on, modern day having to go to college and get the education versus learning your lessons from the School of Hard Knocks. And of course, I'm a travel advisor, and of course, this is a travel channel, and I'm a travel advisor trying to build my channel up and my socials up. So if you want to follow me on other socials, that is welcomed. In the description you can find my socials. And I think that's it.